Yeah, I had a whole thing with my computer right as you said. Are you ready? I think it's because I've been out of work for so long, they've restricted some of my computer rights, so I couldn't update Skype. And I was like, oh man, I've got 2 minutes. And always the way.
I
Yeah.
told Jarrett you were giving him so much shit that he was gonna, back out and not be the one ready, and here we are waiting on you, man.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my god, we've swapped roles. I'm gonna have to cancel. I have to reschedule. I'm like, he's the famous one. He's gonna give me so much shit.
Yes, that's right. I just hung up on him.
Oh, perfect.
It's the BFS fan page rampage. The BFS fan page rampage with Jared Reddick and Daniel Cadden from Twitter. They're so good.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 7, I think, of the BFS fan page Rampage. Today I'm joined by Jarrett and Gary.
Yeah, it is episode 7, and here's the thing, man, we were on a roll. What happened?
Tours.
Yeah.
Several
We
tours.
went on tours, and then we were going to do one of these from tour, and it just never happens, does it?
No, that's true, because there's a lot of sleeping and hangovers and drunk, and there's not really much time for anything else.
And drunk.
Nothing ever happens on tour.
It's so funny.
I mean, a lot happens, but nothing happens.
No, it's like one of those things where we talk about this all the time. It's like, no, everybody wonders, man, but what do you do with all your free time? You like sightsee, you get caught up on emails. Like, what is it? It's like, no, you don't get anything accomplished ever. And there's a
Yeah. Some days I'm worried we won't even fit the show in.
you're so right. Yeah, some days we're wishing we don't have to. Some
Yeah.
days it's like,
There's plenty of times that we say, the show's getting in the way of our hanging out time.
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's 50% saying, "Oh God, I have to drink again," and then 50% saying, "I never want to stop drinking."
So Gary is in the daycare today. We're working on our new show called Rockstar Dad Show, and that's going really well. So any of our listeners out there that
Somehow we've lapped you because y'all started the fan page Rampage before us, and we just had episode 10 on Dad Show.
Well, to be fair, we're only supposed to be going once a month on this.
So it was intended for us to lap.
Yes,
Okay.
but we have missed a couple. As you can tell, like the thing is when Gary and I started the Rockstar Dad Show, we were just going to be every 2 weeks for the rest of the year. But then we started doing it. It was really fun. And then it was like, oh, man, we could do this every week. And now it's like, okay, this is a challenge to do this every week. We've managed to do it.
The challenge isn't doing it. The challenge is carving out the time to get together and do it.
Yeah. And then just all the stuff that goes along behind the scenes of all that, scheduling the interviews and all of that. But yes, so those of our fan page Rampage listeners who haven't checked out the Rockstar Dad Show, you can find it the same place as you find the BFS fan page Rampage.
Okay, well, that covers the how have you been, I suppose.
No, well, we've been good, Daniel. How have you been?
Good, yeah, good. Less busy than you, by the sounds of things, but
No, things are good here. I mean, I would go into like everything I've been working on, but sometimes you ask me about that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've been doing real. I mean, we've had a little bit of downtime just the last few weeks, so we've been hanging a bunch. We had a big weekend here with some friends in town. Me and Casey and Gary and Anik and a bunch of our friends got to hang out several nights this week. So, I'm gonna be honest. Like so last week I went. Let's see, what did I do on Wednesday? Wednesday night was my father-in-law's birthday, and then I had a Jarrett Goes to the Movies podcast that night. So that night we were drinking. The next day, I almost didn't make it to Pittsburgh for the Steelers game, but when I did, we were drinking. And then the next day, I almost didn't make it back to our friend Mark's house for a house party, but I did, and we were drinking. And then the next day, we were drinking. And then Sunday was football Sunday, so we were drinking. By the end of Sunday and then early Monday, I was like, I feel like I've been on tour for 3 months.
I was going to say, you said we've had some downtime, and whenever we're home, I mean, you've got 9 jobs. That's 9 things. And then, we both have kids and lives, and I've got a real job. And so, like, downtime doesn't mean we're not crazy busy. We always have shit going on.
Yeah.
And normally it's like, okay, you go on tour, and you can kind of turn your mind off on some of those things, because you're just on tour. And normally on tour, we're drinking.
Yeah, totally.
But you were doing all the drinking while we're home, too.
But, dude, I mean, like, marathon shit.
Yeah.
Like, the 2 weekend nights here, this never happens. But, like, we went till 3:30 in the morning both nights. Like, if you're on a tour bus, that's normal because you're just going to sleep all day the next day.
Yeah.
No, I have a 6-year-old that expects a blueberry muffin around 6:30 a.m. no matter what time I went to bed. You know what I mean? I mean, he doesn't give a shit. Like, to him, it's just a normal day.
Yeah, that's how tour works for us that aren't in the band. Is like, I drink till 3:30 in the morning with you guys, and then Timmy wants a blueberry muffin at 6:30.
It's so very true. So very true. But we've been good, man. Things have been good and rocking along, man. Excited to get back over there soon.
Awesome. So yeah, as you just said, latest news to talk about. Is there anything going on? What has been going on? What is going to be going on?
Well, I mean, right away, we've got this tour coming up with Patent Pending, called the Almost Christmas Tour. We're super excited about it. I mean, Rob will be playing bass with us again, and Rob kind of came in to do some rehearsals and kind of like lit a fire under our ass. Like, I think we were all just like, okay, yeah, well, we'll do these songs or whatever. And he was like, no, man, we got to do this because this is really cool. And I heard this song, and I'm like, oh boy, what's going on? Like, the young whippersnapper is here cracking the whip, getting us all into tour shape. So we got some cool surprises, some songs that he brought to our attention that we hadn't played in a long time, and we're gonna do. It's gonna be fun. So, and then most recently we did add Not Your Girlfriends to the show, whose new album will be out on the 16th. New video just came out. And man,
that's going to be fun watching them get to experience
the
UK.
Yeah, we got to see them. We took them on tour in Texas and Oklahoma recently, and then we were out on Warped Tour with them. So we've gotten to see like so much cool stuff. But for us, this is going to be almost like them experience the UK. But I mean, me especially, I'm excited for the UK to see them. Like,
I'm just going to go out on a limb here.
Yeah.
I doubt they sleep the day away because they're hungover.
No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
No, they're going to actually go out probably and see stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So that's first and foremost. I will say some other news. Kelly and I did push our record back to February. Gosh, it just got crazy busy. They got crazy busy. I got crazy busy. We both ended up doing a tour that we didn't expect to do. And then Linus, who was producing the record, ended up going to Australia with Nerve Herder, his band. And so, quite frankly, it just kind of, we were on this insane roll to have it out December 7th, and then it just sat for about 4 weeks. So it was like, okay. So that is pushed to December, to February. But the Bowling for Soup DVD now will be out on December 7th. So that's exciting. And so we will finally be releasing something that we recorded live there, and besides the acoustic thing. So full on, and that's up for pre-order now, by the way. So everybody can just go to bowlingforsoup.com and check that out. But it is cool, man. It's like a full 2.5 hour show. We do all the songs from Drunk Enough to Dance and then a bunch of the hits. And news-wise, I mean, gosh, I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, that's a lot.
Okay, well, let's look at what the news has been saying about Bowling for Soup. So first thing I've got here, a vote for future Whitfest headliner. So this is, by the looks of things, some kind of university campus festival that you guys are one of the 5 finalist candidates that the students are going to vote for who they want to see.
Oh, wow.
How does that work? Do you have to agree to do the show and keep your diary free in case they want you there?
I don't think they can just vote for us to be there.
Yeah, we've decided.
Yeah.
Gary and I just had a vote that Elizabeth Hurley needs to walk through this door right now in one of the bikinis that she's on Instagram every day. I think the idea is for them to sort of gauge the interest, and then they come out. I'm sure that they've probably reached out to somebody and been like, here's who we can provide, and these all fit within the budget that is provided. But gosh, who knows? I don't know where that kind of stuff comes from. I mean, I will say this: colleges here, universities are usually pretty accommodating as far as schedule is concerned. If they have someone they want in mind, it is not rare for a university to come to us and be like, hey, we want you to come do this festival, it's such and such date. And we'll be like, we're not available that date, but we're available the week after. And they're like, okay, fuck it. We'll just move it to the next week. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. So I don't know. Good luck us on that vote.
Cool. NME have dug up the story of you guys announcing that My Chemical Romance would be returning Leeds Festival. I don't know why they've brought that up again, but
Well, NME has now voted that My Chemical Romance will be
at Reading and Leeds. Oh man, I love when it's like that freaking in the Bowling for Soup. What are we bowling for or whatever? That just keep like every 4 weeks.
Yeah,
it's just back with like a new fury, and it's just all of my shit's just blown up with that thing, and then it's just creative interviewers that are just like, I've just stumbled upon this. Let's get an answer from the source, and it's just like, I mean, you're literally the 140th person that's
gone viral 7 times.
Exactly. It's just like, my gosh. But
the way I always look at it is, as soon as my mum texts me that tweet, I'll let you know, because that's when it's done. Because once she sees it, everyone's seen it. Right?
Okay, that makes it. Okay, yeah, just let me know. I don't mind. I mean, it's definitely keeping our name out there. And then there's that one that's just like, it's really, really odd that it's so viral, but it's just some girl just tweeted, picture this. Debbie just hit the wall, and she just does the whole first verse of the song. And man, that thing has millions and millions of likes. It's just crazy, but I don't know. I've never said that I knew why things go viral. Unless you're in Florida.
Jesus. Alt Press did a story about 11 musicians revealing their biggest phobias. And what was yours?
Was mine mice? I'm scared of mice. Yeah. This is a true story. When I worked for Disney, obviously, for years and years, doing Phineas and Ferb. And then I got hired to do Chuck E. Cheese, which is a restaurant here that their mascot is a mouse. And by the way, Gary is yawning over here to my left, and it's making me want to yawn, and I'm trying so hard not to. But anyway, so we're sitting at the table, and I tell my family, I'm just like, yeah, so I'm going to be the next Chuck E. Cheese. And that was the first thing out of my daughter, who I guess at that point she was about 9. And she goes, Dad, isn't it funny that you're scared of mice and now you work for 2 of them? But yeah, it's true. I don't like mice. I don't mind the little white ones at pet shops. It's the little gray, little scurrying thing. They're just too unpredictable. They're just kind of all around and all that stuff. So living in Texas, unfortunately, I do get exposed to that every once in a while. So it's like, I just make deals with my neighbors. Like, I'll come over and take care of your spider or your snake if you come over and take care of my mouse. And I've only been arrested for saying that to one lady.
Jesus.
She was like, "Oh, you call it a mouse, do you?"
I was going to say that's along the lines of whenever I was heading over here, you're like, just meet me upstairs.
I know, dude. I'm so glad you took it like that, because I almost wrote, just meet me upstairs, big boy. Yeah. But I didn't know, like, it's early in the morning, kind of, so
I was driving, or I would have replied accordingly.
I really was like thinking when I wrote that, I thought, man, he's gonna, because the way that my studio is it's upstairs, and so like if somebody rings the doorbell, I have to like come on this intercom and tell them to come up here. So I just text and say, come on up. But maybe I should reword that. We'll just see what happens next time. I don't want you to like come in here expecting something that you're not going to get.
Well, I did fumble with the doorknob before I walked in. I wanted to make sure you knew I was coming in.
Okay, and the last story we have, not really anything to comment on, but YouTube Music, which I guess is the new name of Google Play, has introduced search via emoji. So now, and the example this article has given is if you type a bowling emoji and then the number 4 and then a soup emoji, then that's your search and it'll return bowling for soup.
That's cool, but it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to have that.
I could type bowling for soup so fast.
Yeah.
It's just cool. I will tell you this, that, from our standpoint, just anytime you're included in something like that, it just, it took someone sitting there thinking about it and being like, what's the best one that we could think of or whatever, and actually put that out. I mean, that feels pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's it. There's literally, like, of all the music in the world, there's 2 examples, and one is Bowling for Soup, and the other one is Hit Me Baby One More Time. So if you type a baby emoji and then the number 1, which I think there's something kind of copacetic about the fact
yeah,
that
right.
Bowling for Soup either way.
That's funny.
So that concludes the news. And next thing is this day in Bowling for Soup history. Now, today is the 13th of November, and I dug through Facebook to try and find anything that happened. And I guess November is generally downtime historically for Bowling for Soup because it's capitalism central on your Facebook during this month. Like, everything is just, have you seen this? Oh, this is on sale. Oh my God, look at this new thing.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
for years and years and years, we'd always do October in the UK, and then we'd come home, and it's like, okay, we're home for the holidays.
Well, November was my anniversary with my ex-wife, her birthday, and then Thanksgiving, and then it gets us into Christmas. So, yeah, I mean, it was like, and then even January would be slow because that gets into Gary and his wife's birthdays and all that. So it's like this would normally be the downtime with a couple of shows around Christmas or New Year's. But yeah, so this whole UK thing really is super unique. We've never been over there this late in the year. So
I'm scared it's going to be really cold.
It's going to be cold as shit, and it's going to suck. God, it's going to be wet and gray. And
it's going to be horrible.
It's just, but I don't know. Free dental.
Isn't wet and grey your favorite online category?
Hi-yo! Ding, 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 ding. I did not expect you to come out with a whippersnapper today, Daniel. Good one. And yes.
So, if we're pushing it, this day in Bowling for Soup history, 13th of November 2015, you posted about a Bowling for Soup karaoke contest where the winner got to have dinner with Bowling for Soup backstage on the How About Another Round tour. Do you remember that? Was that super weird or...
It was weird. I do remember it because of the way that it worked out. We did it in Newcastle, and I don't know if you specifically remember the dressing rooms in Newcastle, Daniel, but it's like the tiniest little rectangular room.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
It's like none of the other bands have any room either. So like it's just like even your stuff takes up like half the thing, and then there's 2 of these couches that like aren't big enough quite for 2 or 3 people.
4 people can uncomfortably sit.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, total in the room, except
it.
for where Chris Burney sits in front of the table.
Well,
right. That's
4 people can uncomfortably sit.
Okay. Got it. But no, we had gosh, and I think the guy's name's Robert. His name's Robert, and I think he's on I'm pretty sure he's kind of grown up because this has been a few years ago. What did you say? What year it was?
It would have been the How About Another Round tour, 2016.
Yeah, so it's been a couple of years. Yeah, him and his little brother won it, and they came backstage, and we had McDonald's, and so I believe we
ran out of time, so we couldn't go anywhere, so we'd send
That's
out
correct.
McDonald's,
Yeah. So we didn't have time to go anywhere, but we did have a meal. We had some McDonald's, and we made sure that they got plenty of fries and burgers. And, it was fine. It was fine. They were super happy, and we had fun doing it. It just sucked that it couldn't have been in one of those dressing rooms where you, like Southampton or whatever, where you've literally a conference room, like you could all lay on the table.
Yeah.
But yes, I do remember, and that was fun. It was cool. We had some cool entries to that.
Next thing to talk about is what's Jarrett listening to right now.
Well, let's go to Gary on that. Let's throw to Gary, because you guys go to me on this. Let's just put Gary on the spot. Gary, what are you listening to these days?
Oh, my God. Man, I'd really have to think about that for a second. Probably my my kind of go-to thing that I've been listening to lately is Bayside. I love that band, and I didn't realize it till so late in the game. But I've kind of just been going back and going through all of that stuff right now.
I haven't. I think I liked them for it's one of those bands where I think I liked them for like a month, and then I just stopped listening to it, and that's just kind of where it sits.
We used to, back in the day, we were on the same circuit, and so they would always play the same venue in town, either the day before us or the day after us, and like a lot of our fans were the same, and I had them confused with another band, and so like forever I thought that I didn't like them. And so it wasn't till like 2012, and I figured out that it wasn't the band that I was confused with, and I was like, "Holy shit, they're amazing!" And so I've kind of just been kicking myself in the ass for the past few years, and re-catching up on all their stuff.
They are really great, and Timmy worked for them for a while before he listened to us. And I got to tell you, Daniel, if you're looking for new music, though. How about that new Not Your Girlfriend's record that comes out 2 days after we're doing this right now? I mean, just great. No, I'm serious. New Kids in America, Not Your Girlfriend's. I've had to listen to it because we've been working on it for a few months, and I think people are going to love it. So I want people to, if you didn't pre-order it, just go get it, download it, stream it, whatever. But check it out, and then check out Bayside too. Good dudes.
And go look up Not Your Girlfriend's new video now, before their album comes out, or before you buy it, before you make a decision to buy it, and then you can come see them on tour just in time.
That's perfect. Right. Yeah, so if you here's what's great about Not Your Girlfriend's right now. That's a band that you could come see support Bowling for Soup, and like if you download their album, you pretty much have most of their set that you can have memorized. So you're going to look like a winning person. You're going to be in the know because you're going to know the first slot band. Because everybody's going to know 3 or 4 patent pending songs. I don't know what their set looks like. They're probably going to play some new stuff or whatever. But the whole opener, their whole set, people are going to be like, oh man, this person is really in touch.
I'm excited to see the girls see the UK for the first time because you guys know what the UK is like and how you just accept that you can't get certain things. But imagine being a 13-year-old girl and being told, no, you can't have that. You can't have that thing.
Well, it'll be like us for the first several times. I mean, you're happy and everything's new, and it's just, oh, okay, well, that's an inconvenience I can live with. It'll be a while before they actually start to realize, wait a minute, you can't have anything over here. They just don't give you anything. You can't even buy shit here. Like, because everything's closed all the time.
You can't get ice because it's made of water, which apparently is an important commodity in the UK.
Something like that. I don't know, but no. In all seriousness, it's going to be great. And you cannot imagine how excited these little girls are. So it's going to be great fun.
Let's look at Bowling for Soup on TV, which, before we go into this, just appeal to the fan page for help on this segment for the future, because I'm running out of things that Bowling for Soup have done on TV, because I only know so many things. So if you guys have any
suggestions... Is that like a hidden dig at us?
It might be.
Are you saying that we're not super famous and we haven't done a whole bunch of TV shit?
That's a Daniel Cotton style dig is what that is. Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how he rolls, man. It's like not even passive aggressive. It's just like sort of like it's this dig where it's just kind of like, like straw underneath your fingernails.
Yeah.
Just fucking hurts.
If you're running out of shit that we've done on TV, I'll send you the footage of whenever I was 6 and we took the cat to the vet and we ended up on the news.
We can talk about that.
What the fuck? Oh.
However, I'm down to my last couple of ideas with this myself, and this one is one I think about a lot, but just because of how weird it is, and I just looked it up on YouTube and was laughing out loud watching it because it's so fucking weird. The 2011 PBA Tournament of Champions, when Bowling for Soup premiered their new song Sister Saturday at the, I guess, World 10-Pin Bowling Championships or something like that.
Yeah. It was one of the weirdest days. It was great. We had a blast. But it was so flippin' weird. I mean, they were basically having this bowling contest. And it's the championships, bowling championship. And they have us set up like at the end of the lanes to do this show in between matches. But it's not, there are a couple of Bowling for Soup fans there, by the way. And that's the weird thing about the television thing. And not even just a couple. They gave away tickets to like fans who like applied for them. So there was like a whole section of Bowling for Soup fans that were into it. But when you watch it on the TV, they are showing the bowling fans who literally are holding their ears. It's like old ladies who are, and I'm not misusing the word literally. They're literally holding their ears. Like they could not be more just offended and bothered because we're there. And all of that stems from just the fact that the guy who's like the head of the bowling league, not for the reason you would think, because our name is Bowling for Soup, he just likes our band a lot and just would and always tries to hire us to do shit. And man, but I mean, we had an amazing weekend. Amazing week. They treated us so great. They put us up. In fact, I mean, our crew were stoked because a couple of them hadn't showered in a few days. I remember that. Remember Tony went.
Oh man, we had amazing hotels and they had an amazing cool little area. We had like our own private bowling alley.
That's right. Yeah, we had our own private bowling alley with just coolers and coolers of beer. And I mean, that's just it. The one thing about bowling, that's unlike NASCAR is they don't give a fuck. They just let you drink.
There's definitely drinking in bowling.
Yes, for sure. But
if you remember, my son was born like 2 weeks before this.
That sounds right, yeah.
And so we flew in to do this show, and we flew in the night before, and then the show was, noon or something the next day. And then as soon as we were done, I jumped on a plane and flew back home to go, be home with family. This is the first time we were ever in Vegas where after we did sound check the night before, Jarrett's like, all right, let's go do this. I'm like, I'm going to the hotel room and going to sleep.
Yeah, that did happen.
The first time I was ever in Vegas where I didn't go have a great time.
Go have fun. Luckily for me, my friend Greg had flown in for that, remember? And so I was entertained. I think we had to but we were like out. And but that is just a fine example of how you would actually never know how happy we are inside by seeing how miserable we are while playing that song on that television screen right there. Because we're miserable. I mean, just like there is no reason we should be doing this right now. I mean, it was bad. But, I mean, it was national TV. We all got really cool bowling jerseys out of the thing. And
it is kind of a weird, introverted experience where normally not introverted, I fucked that up, but inverted experience where normally we're going, not normally, but a lot of the times we go places and it's a pain in the ass to travel and the accommodations suck and it's just a beating, but the show's a blast.
Right.
And it's like, okay, this 48 hours is going to suck, but this hour is going to be fun. And it was just the exact opposite.
Totally.
Where the show was miserable, but it was a fantastic trip.
Yeah, that juxtaposition of like where and actually normally when we're doing television it's pretty fun because it's like they're all different. This was miserable because they weren't set up to do it, it was just the whole thing. But again, we only played 3 songs.
Yeah.
And it was, I guess, that whole experience was 2 hours out of our day.
Yeah.
And we got to see the first woman ever in the championship and she lost. And I don't mean that to be sexist. That's reality. She literally lost.
Oh my god. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen that, please go. It's on, the whole thing's on YouTube. The 2011 PBA Tournament of Champions. Please go watch that and look out for the guy in the audience who does not look up from his phone one time on national television.
There is a gray-haired lady on there that is literally has the biggest frown and just look of terror on her face. And here's the thing, I haven't seen this since then, and I'll still never forget it.
It made an impression.
Yeah, because people were texting or calling and saying, oh my God, that had to have sucked. That was terrible. Like, the audience was so miserable. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, there was this they brought in a whole, like 100, it had to have been 100.
Yeah.
Bowling for Soup fans to like hear this debut and be there and watch the thing or whatever.
They just didn't show them.
They just didn't show them. It's unbelievable.
It's one of my favorite things to watch, really is. Let's talk about the story behind the song. This was voted for by the fan page. They want to hear about Why Don't I Miss You?
Oh, that's a cool one. And I will tell you why. It's just great. I wrote that song with Stacey Jones, who is this week's guest on the Rockstar Dad Show.
Things are just lining up.
Episode 10. So you get to hear about his whole dad experience and how he's been famous 3 separate times, which is crazy. That song was he just had come up with the idea of a song about like being so madly in love with someone, and it's essentially sort of like that unanswered prayers kind of thing of like how you really wish that you know the person that you're with, especially when you're young, you're like, I'm gonna be with this person forever. And then so we actually took like a real relationship of mine that I actually thought was gonna last forever, and we kind of dissected it and put it onto the paper and made that the story. But it's just, again, it's a love song. It's about how things can be just amazing, and then as you grow up and you sort of look back and your Facebook friends or whatever, you're like, yeah, it's weird that I don't miss you. You know, like you were my whole world, and now you're not. You know. By the way, and so got your name tattooed on my heart because I wasn't old enough to have a tattoo yet. So that's where that line came from. And but yeah, so back at Rider High is actually where I went to high school. Wishes on Stars in the Texas Sky. Hold on, I'm actually doing the thing, Daniel, where I have already started talking about the song, and then I look up the lyrics.
Yeah.
So that I can talk about it. But I'm not going to really edit this one very much. So I'm really trying to kill time.
Just fill the silence. Yeah, I understand.
There's some cool lines on this one, though, man. I mean, hey, here's a fun thing. If you Google the lyrics on Google, Ryder is spelled wrong. So that's not where I went to school.
You don't want to Google them on Ask Jeeves?
No, I don't even know it. Doesn't a dog bring you some shit if you do that? But yeah, a cool little throwaway line. We're back in black when we were hand in hand, 2 young kids like Jack and Diane. You know, that's kind of one of those things. I love the maybe I was too high, maybe I just sobered up too soon, and you're still on the dark side of the moon is like one of my favorite lyrics that Stacy and I ever wrote for sure. But yeah, man, we kind of were king and queen of the town in our eyes, and you know, we didn't make it. So that's a good thing because I'm super happy now, Daniel. So, you know, I don't know why you continue to bring these memories up every time I talk to you. You know, like every time I talk to you, you're just like, hey, tell me about another one of your breakups that you had. You know?
Listen, dude, I didn't write these fucking songs. It's not my fault.
It's a great tune. And another one where I didn't really used to be that comfortable with the tenor of my voice when I sing low like that. So that one took a little bit of convincing, I think, for me. But I don't mind singing like that now. But that back then, I think that was on Burrito, if I'm not mistaken. You know, 2004, 2005. I still wasn't really, really super confident with singing back down there on that remember back, like down there. But now I'll go down there anytime. Wait a minute, not anytime.
Jesus.
Good Lord, I know. I got a million of those.
I think this is the 4th Jesus of the podcast.
It is the 4th Jesus.
You're doing good.
I'm doing good, right? See, now you know exactly what it's like to be in a band with me. That's what I'm going for. If I can get them to all go, oh, Jesus Christ, like at least 4 or 5 times, successful show. So this is, we have a successful podcast here, Daniel.
It's going good. Was there a reason for so many references there? Back in Black, Jack and Diane, Dark Side of the Moon. Were any of those specifically kind of wedged in because you wanted to make a reference to that, or did it just fit?
It was what we were listening to back then. So like in high school, though Back in Black had been kind of around for a while, it was really, really popular. Jack and Diane, same thing. It was like stuff that was kind of always a go-to, you know, at a party or in the car or whatever to listen to. But yeah, good question. I mean, those were just songs that were, I mean, they're timeless today. You still hear them all the time. But at that point, you know, the oldest one was 10 years old, so they were kind of just around. But yeah, it really just kind of trying to paint the picture of the time.
Yeah, I think that's cool because I didn't really pick up on why that was, but I suppose listening to it, it does kind of put me in a place in a time, which is weird because I didn't live during that time. So it obviously worked. Good job. You did it.
Thanks, buddy.
Now, last thing is questions from the fan page, which usually I direct at you, but today we have mainly questions for Gary.
Am I getting roasted?
No.
Yeah.
Well, kinda.
Yeah. I think we could do, honestly, with what was submitted, a solid 20 minutes on real estate, but I don't want to because that's not what this podcast is about. That's a different podcast, and you guys can go and find a real estate podcast if you want, but that's not what we're trying to do here. So there's some featured. Owen Lewis asks, did you know the guys before they started the band?
Yeah, actually, I knew of and was somewhat friends with everyone before Bowling for Soup started. Whenever I was 7th grade or so, that's whenever I started playing drums and got into a band. And my bass player at the time, his older sister was dating Eric. And so that's how I met Eric. And he was in other bands, and his band and my band would play at the coffee house that Chris ran. So that's how I met Chris. And Chris was in a bunch of other bands. And from playing at that coffee house, that's also how I met Jarrett. His bands were playing there, and I would always go watch them. So we all knew each other from the music scene. Even though I'm a lot younger than the guys, I just kind of knew them all from that whole scene.
It gets so crazy. You almost have to draw it because Lance was also in a band with Chris and Eric, and then he sat in with the band with Chris and Eric, and me and Lance were in a different band.
Yeah.
And then before I asked Chris to be the guitar player in Bowling for Soup, I actually asked Gary's guitar player.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a very small, especially this day and age in that town. I mean, they've got a big music scene now, but it was a very small music community, and we,
yeah,
it's good stuff.
Let me just point out that little dig that Gary just made there, even though I'm a lot younger than the rest of the guys.
I noticed that whenever I said it. I didn't mean it that way, but at the time, it was weird because I was 13, 14 playing in a band, hanging out with, 19 to 23-year-olds. That's weird. And so that's why I was pointing out that I was younger. I mean, now it doesn't make a difference. I'm 40, Jarrett's 46, that's a lot different than 14 and, 20.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to put it in perspective, Chris is 10 years older than Gary. That doesn't matter now, but back then it seemed like a lot, I mean, it was, again, we all could drive. We all could buy them beer when they started driving.
Yeah.
Not ever at the same time.
But I mean, I guess why it was weird is not so much Jarrett, but Eric and Chris. Like, I would see them socially, like out and about town, and we would hang out, and because we were all in this kind of music scene. So that's why I was kind of just pointing out the age difference. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like when you're dating someone, and it's fine if you're 40 and 46, but if you're 13 and 20, then that's weird.
Frowned upon for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Especially if you started when you were like, 7 and 13.
Jesus.
We got 5 Jesuses.
Well,
moving swiftly.
I was actually trying to think about because we have this conversation all because I have a 15-year-old daughter, so we have this conversation all the time about how she could be dating. So, she was 14 dating a 16-year-old. Eventually, he's going to be an adult, and she's not. So it there is a weird thing. Obviously, I took that joke, a little bit. Let's move on, Daniel.
If you're listening, just so you know, the rule is you can date someone half your age plus 7. That's the rule. And if you go outside of those boundaries, then you broke the rule. And work it out because it works.
Oh,
Steve Rice.
I fucking did it.
Whoa. Oh, you did it? Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
fucking did it.
Steve Rice asks, how do you balance the band, your family, and real estate?
It's a struggle. I mean, there's times where it's kind of living double life, you know? I mean, it's the weirdest part of that is whenever we're home for a while, we kind of get into a domesticated role where, you know, I'm dad, I'm putting my son to bed every night, I'm waking up in the morning, taking him to school, going to work, and that's the routine, right? And whenever we're about to hit the road, it's anxiety of like, oh man, I don't want to go to the airport, I don't want to get on the bus. And it's like, as soon as I get to the airport or as soon as I get to the bus, all that goes away and like muscle memory kicks in and you know what you're doing. And there's a couple of days transition or whatnot, but I mean, it really does just kind of kick in. And then that same transition happens whenever you get home because you've been staying up all night drinking with your friends, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to wake up at 6 to go take my son to school. So there's transitions. That's really the hardest part because it's not like I'm doing all of those things at the same time. When we're on tour, I'm obviously not being the dad and whatnot. But I still do get work done on the road. I just don't get new work done. So whenever we're gone, I can handle real estate-wise. I can handle everything that I had going before I left. I'm just not really able to take on new clients at the time. So whenever we get home, I usually have a down month or two trying to get that going again.
Michael Price asks, who is your drumming idol and who out of the new bands on the scene do you look at and think, wow?
Well, growing up, I'd say my drum idol's Bill Stevenson. I mean, just the whole Descendants thing, that just changed my world. And he's always been someone I looked up to musically, punk rock wise. He's technical, he's fast, he's kind of got it all. But I also really, really loved George Hurley. He played drums for a band called Fire Hose, not Firehouse, Fire Hose. And one of the coolest things he ever did that kind of changed my perception on things was he had less drums and more cymbals. So I always thought that was really cool. You know, we were going away from the 12-piece drum kits. He had like a 4-piece or a 5-piece kit, but he had 15 cymbals. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So those are probably the two guys that kind of shaped my drumming. And
George had Fire Hose had like a lot of it was very, very dynamic. So there was a lot of like splash cymbals and things for like these hits and all of that, and which you were doing before us, and then you get in our band and there's no need for that.
Yeah, but man, I don't know who it would be now. I'm old. I don't listen to anything new really. I wish I had more new stuff on my plate, but I have a job and kids, and I just don't listen to that much new stuff. I'm really excited whenever I do find new stuff, though.
Rawdon James asks, has anyone at a house showing ever recognized you as that bloke from BFS?
You know what? So whenever I first started selling houses, I tried to kind of run with it and be like the rock and roll realtor or something like that, and it just didn't work. No one cared. It didn't matter. No one wanted a rock star selling houses. It just didn't make sense, right? So I just steered away from that and just started working and being professional. And there have been times while I'm out showing houses and a client that I've already been working with somehow figures it out, whether, they looked me up or they're like, you look familiar or whatnot. Most of them think it's really cool, and then whenever they do figure it out, it works because they tell their friends, hey, my agent does this, and then it's cool when they tell someone about it. It's just not cool when I tell them. But I have had one person where we were out, I think we were in like Sanger, Texas, which is kind of the country. We had looked at houses a couple of days, and at this point I pulled up to the driveway. They pulled up behind me, and they asked me, they're like, hey, are you the guy that's in that band? And I go, yeah, and, we talked about it for a minute, and then they never called me back. They would never answer my calls. They're like, I guess they just were not impressed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it's only happened once. Every other time, and people are like, that's so cool.
It.
Usually they're like, I never would have guessed it, and then they're super impressed.
Son of a bitch. Well, out of the however many years, almost, how long you been doing this now?
Almost 9 years.
10 years. We lost you one sale.
Yeah.
That's not too shabby.
No.
Unless we were dragging you away on tour and you couldn't get the listing, which...
That's happened a few times.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's just one person, and it was real weird when they asked, and I was like, yeah. I was surprised because we had already, had a good relationship, and they were just done with me for some reason.
Did that make you want to start saying no? No, I'm not that guy.
No, I mean, I never really tried to run away from who I am or what I do. It's just a matter of how you position yourself, right?
That makes sense. Geraldine Darling asks, do you enjoy being mostly hidden from view when being on stage?
When being on stage, I don't know. Being on stage is weird because there's times where, because I'm in the back, or some stages are different shaped. So if I'm further back, or sometimes we have like these banners on the side of the stage, so that blocks my view being so far back, or with lights or whatnot. And then that bothers me if I can't see the crowd, if I can't see the other band members. Obviously, that bothers me. But yeah, there's times where I just feel removed, or maybe not as into the show if I can't see the audience. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't really bother me being in a different spot.
That's sucky. You know, we pay these light guys. You just tell me, and I'll tell them.
Not always. Sometimes it's the state fair, and it's that spotlight guy that's 200 yards away just trying to blind you.
Yeah, if it's in my eyes, it's in yours too.
Right.
Yeah, I feel you. That's why That's why I try to include Gary in the show. So a lot of times we'll just check in with Gary Wiseman, and I try to make up a different middle name each time. And he gets hit on the spot, and then he just says something hilarious and gives the mic back.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
And not yet. Not your favorite part. Also, on the last tour, we had a spinning drum riser to try to expose more of him to the audience, and it was very Spinal Tap-ish. It did not work half the time, and then when it did, it went really, really slow.
Yeah,
it was kind of dumb.
It sounded cooler than it was.
It wasn't our best work. Well, because, the one that we had when we did the video for 1985 was fast, It was like, wasn't that one fast?
It was much faster, yeah.
So, he could spin you around one time and look cool. And
yeah.
I don't know. It took 4 people to fucking make that work, by the way. Like, if you were on that tour, like, it took a whole thing. They had to write down, like, when they were going to spin them.
Yeah.
And, like, they'd have to, like, set up and get, like, this whole thing together and move all these cables and shit, spin him around and then spin him back around or whatever. They worked hard for that, but I don't think it got the effect that any of us were looking to get.
Yeah, I talk to people after the show sometimes, and you'd hear someone say, "Oh, yeah, that was cool that you spun around," and then the person next to him go, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, they didn't see it. Because it was so slow they didn't notice.
Yeah.
Like one of those restaurants that spins while you're eating, and you just, like, look up from your salad, like, how the fuck did we get to this view?
Just for anyone listening, it actually took 5 people to make the
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to have some sort of retort, and I'm glad that you do, because I like when they get the inside scoop. Go!
Because in some venues, the hardest job of the day is finding a fan that can be pointed at Gary, because he is the person in the band who actually has to do work. And
you hear that? You hear that? So there's a Daniel Cotton dig. See, but to me, that felt like bamboo under the fingernails. To you, you don't give a shit. Because
I heard it both ways. I'm bilingual.
Oh, okay. I got it. All right. I got it.
All right. The point is, Gary has a more exerting job, let's say, and it's tiring. So he has a fan pointed at him, and we don't always have a fan with us, so we find one from the venue. And some nights that means having an extension cord.
Do you know the puzzling part about that is? I didn't realize that it's an ongoing thing day to day that y'all struggle with. I could solve that real quick. Just take the fan with us.
Yeah, well,
have one every day.
That's the thing, is it either breaks or they lose it. Yeah. It gets squashed in the trailer. Like, that's the thing. It's like all crew members know, if we need something, go get it. Just go and get the fucking thing. It's like, it's a 25-pound fan that's going to make his life easier. There's 2,500 people here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, get him a fucking fan.
So in February, I think someone forgot to order the fan, or it was ordered but they didn't provide it. Something like that. And we got kind of 3/4 of the way through the tour, and there were nights when I had to hold the fan pointing to Gary while the thing rotated, because if it had rotated with the fan on, then it would have pulled this extension cord, and everything would have come unplugged. And so I'm just stood behind Gary holding a fan against him like he's Britney Spears or some shit. And I mean, he didn't ask for that. Let me clarify. It wasn't his request. I just, sometimes
I would have thought it was hilarious had we just turned around and everything fell down and it ripped off the wall. That
would have been
Oh my
pretty darn
God.
cool. Yeah, as long as it didn't, hurt anybody. But mental note, Daniel. Let's get an email to Sarah and order a fan.
Yeah.
for
Well,
this.
we got like 3/4 of the way through the tour, and I heard then why we were having these issues with the fan, and I was saying to Timmy, like, you mean I could have just gone and bought a fan? Like, I can just do that tomorrow. I will do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are we fucking doing this?
Here's the thing: we don't even have to do it. There's a guy that's there for 4 hours a day who literally his job is to go get shit.
Yeah.
That's and then he's off the clock. He's getting paid by the promoter, and so that comes out of our ass in the end. It's like, send that guy. Go get a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send him now though, because we're gonna be there in a couple of weeks.
And we don't want them going out for fans. We want them going out for chicken.
Chicken. Dixie chicken.
Moving on in a fantastic segue, Robert Beeston asks, after the revolving drum kit earlier this year, are you going to go full out Tommy Lee this time?
We're going to do a unicycle drum set this year.
Yeah. It's gonna be something else. Can't wait.
It's going to be someone else doing it, though, not me.
You know how like it's gonna look like, how the Grinch has all the toys and shit on the sleigh when he steals all the stuff, and it's just like going all over. It's gonna look like that.
You'd probably make Rob from Pat and Pending do that, right? That's his thing. He just fills in.
We kind of make him do everything now.
Yeah, he's filling in for me next year.
Except for he's not going and getting fans and chicken.
No,
that's my job.
that is true.
I am sorry to this person if I pronounce your name wrong. I've even Googled it, but it didn't help me. Stain de Vries asks, when you started the band or when you joined the band, how long did you think the band would last, honestly?
You and I were talking about this just the other day.
Yeah, we just had this conversation.
I don't know Jarrett's answer. My answer was whenever I joined the band, I dropped out of college because I didn't know what the fuck I was going to be doing. So I took my mom to Bennigan's, had a talk with her, said, I think I'm going to drop out of school and go tour with a rock band and do that. And I really thought it'd probably be like a 4 or 5 year thing. I just never thought it would turn into what it turned into.
No, I mean, none of us did. I mean, the thing is that Gary had dropped out of college to do this before you. I mean, we can't really say that that's the reason he dropped out of college, but he did drop out of college, and we did end up doing this.
You mean Eric?
What did I say?
You said Gary. Gary
fuck.
dropped
Sorry.
out before me.
Sorry.
Confused me for a second.
God damn it. What if we had 2 Garys?
We can't do that.
That's too many Garys. Yeah. So Eric dropped out of college to do this as well. But yeah, I think that's such a complicated thing. But it is interesting just to hear your response. But yeah, to do it 4 or 5 years and go back to school, and that was part of my pitch to you too. Was just like, dude, I know you're definitely not going to be able to do this and school, but dude, you can always go back to school.
Well, and I mean, I don't think realistically, a realistic view, anyone's like, yeah, this is going to be a 30-year career.
Sure.
It's like, hey, we're going to go do this as much as we can, see how far it goes and have fun. And that was it. It was fun was the goal.
There was never any promises of like a long-term thing. It was like, hey, we're onto something, let's go do it for a little while.
Yeah.
And, here we are going to be most likely going to be singing Fart Jokes at 50. And that's going to be the name of the album. Fart Jokes at 50.
I like it.
That's fucking good, actually.
Let's make this the last question. I think we're hitting the hour mark. For some reason, I put the 2 difficult to pronounce names together. Corey Van Enenam asks, at what point did your family and close friends realize that Bowling for Soup was more than just a garage band and you were becoming quite famous? And what was their reaction to learning you'd been nominated for a Grammy and hearing your songs on the radio, etc.?
That's to you.
That's to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I don't remember what happened yesterday. I got to think back. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone. I don't know when they realized we were famous or anything. We really just had a good support group, I would say. Whenever we started touring and we were just doing local Texas and regional shows, I mean, I had friends from high school and college and whatnot that had kind of dispersed across, and they always wanted to come to the shows and see us. It was probably, I don't know, probably sometime after Drunk Enough to Dance came out that's whenever it started being like, hey, Gary, there's somebody at the door that wants to come into the show that says they went to church camp with you. And I'm like, okay, what's their name? You're like, I've never heard of that person. Yeah. I don't know. So it's probably sometime after that, which what would that be, like 2000?
Yeah, 4, 5.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there, whenever really people started coming out of the woodwork. My family was always really supportive, though.
So he came at it from a different side, too, because he was younger. And it really was, I mean, he didn't really have that, with the exception of maybe like your grandparents, you didn't have that, what the hell are you doing, kind of thing around you that much. Like your mom was always at all the shows and yada, yada. I mean, like. Yeah,
whenever I took her to Bennigan's and said I was dropping out, I thought, I was nervous how she was going to be, and she was just like, go do it now. You can do it while you're young, so she was always really supportive. So I mean, I didn't really have a hard time with that.
The rest of us being older and Eric having a kid, I just did it again. God damn it. Eric being a kid, having a kid. I had just the goddamn best joke to tell right now, and I didn't tell it, and I'm glad I didn't, but remind me later. Anywho, yeah, I mean, it probably happened around the same time for all of us, but I think for the older ones of us, to be in People magazine after the Grammys or whatever was like this crazy validity to like our parents and stuff. And I think for Gary, we're already seeing the world and shit. Your mom was probably already like, this is great that you're getting to do all this, kind of thing. So I don't know, different perspectives.
For anyone who's counting the number of Jesuses per podcast, if Jarrett says, remind me when we're no longer recording, that qualifies as any joke that's going to make me say, Jesus fucking Christ.
That's 100% true.
It's a whole next level.
That is 100% true.
I was just pretty proud he pulled the punch. Like, I'm the guy that pulls the punch. Earlier, I had a joke that I was like, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Because, everyone would go, Jesus.
Jesus, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. My job is to make the people say Jesus, Gary. Your job is just to make sure nobody gets arrested. Oh, boy.
Well, thanks, guys. This has been awesome. Thanks to everyone for listening to episode 7 of the BFS fan page Rampage. Please go look me up on Twitter. I am Daniel Cotton. Look up my blog, Daniel Cotton from Twitter, all one word. And because we're about to go on tour 2 weeks yesterday, please go Google, all one word, Daniel Cotton on tour, and you'll find my tour blog where I talk about all of the Jesus fucking Christ jokes that Jarrett makes.
Bowling for Soup. BowlingForSoup.com is your ticket to everything Bowling for Soup, but you guys already know, the best fan page in the world. Almost 5,000 members, 5 years. Holy crap, you guys are the flipping best ever. And thank you to each and every one of you guys. Go check out the Rockstar Dad Show, though. Please, please, please go like our socials.